Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to share something with you that I was reading today that I think would be interesting to most of us, particularly if we're trying to understand America and how America works. Now, here's the thing you want to understand about this country. Most of the habits, cultures, norms, perceptions, beliefs, systems, ideologies that exist in America right now did not uh, come to fruition in a vacuum. They did not just sort of begin yesterday. Many of the things that you see today, in terms of how people do things, how wealth is distributed, how culture comes to exist, it was pretty much driven by things that happened, two, three, 400 years ago. And many of these traditions continue to this day, and we don't question these things because we just think that's the way things are, that's the way things are supposed to be. And so sometimes by looking at it from a different lens, we can see America more so for what it is. I don't know if we should see America as a fundamentally horribly bad country, but the idea that America is perfect and wonderful and great is also another thing that you've been indoctrinated to believe over time. Now, I'm going to share with you an article that I just read on blackthen.com, blackthen.com, a Black history blog. And they wrote an article about this facility called the Central State Lunatic Asylum for Colored Insane. The Central State Lunatic Asylum for Colored Insane. It was established in 1868 in Petersburg, Virginia. Now, what happened was some historians went back and said, let's look at this institution. Let's try to see how black people were treated, how black people were, and not treated in a medical sense, but just treated socially as well. But how black people were perceived, how they were diagnosed as being mentally ill. Even though, remember that if you are a straight line in a crooked society, then society is going to define you to be crooked, right? And so America is a country that is built on the mental illness of racism and white supremacy. That's the foundation of much of this nation. So a lot of times when you're black and you take a stand, you speak up, you do whatever you feel is right, people will look at you like you're crazy. They're going to call you the crazy, angry, outraged Negro. And then the thing is that if you don't have anybody supporting you, you're going to feel like you're crazy. You're going to say, well, wait a minute, maybe something is wrong with me. I know I've gone through that. I know that when I was at Syracuse University raising all kinds of hell about the racism, and I was like, wait a minute, you guys haven't promoted a black man in the business school in 100 years, and you telling me something's wrong with me? And I was like, go to hell. But anyway, so so but then at that point, when you become that outspoken black person, most of you kind of know what happens after that. People kind of look at you funny. They're looking for ways to kind of push you out, stuff like that. That I've gone through it. Many of us have gone through it. That's kind of our story, especially when you're spending all your time engaging in the severe mental illness of depending on the white man to take care of you and to feed your kids, even though he's proven to you in many, many ways in about 80 different languages that he don't give a damn about you or your family. But the reason that you continue to suffer under that oppression is because you don't give a damn about yourself or your family. You don't understand the risks of depending on people who hate you to take care of you. That doesn't make any sense. But again, that's more of that mental illness that you're indoctrinated into that tells you that this is the way things are supposed to be. It's not the way things are supposed to be. All right. So anyway, let me go through a couple of a couple of the diagnoses that they would make on black people to define them as mentally ill. Some of the things on the list were, let's see here. Give me a second. This was right after slavery. Um, let's see. You were defined as mentally ill if you did not step off the sidewalk to allow a white man to pass. So if you did not understand logically that a white man should be allowed to pass you, and you stayed on the sidewalk thinking that somehow you were equal to the white man, then you were defined to be mentally ill. Another thing that would define you to be mentally ill is to get into an argument with a white boss. If you got into an argument with your boss and your boss was white, then that clearly means that you're insane. Right? So I've been crazy my whole life because I used to dream about jumping across the desk and beating somebody's ass every day I went to work. I was like, man, one day I'm just gonna miss my cup of coffee in the morning. Somebody gonna get hurt today. So I definitely fit in the category of being mentally ill according to this documentation. Let's see. Another thing that would define you as mentally ill is talking back to a white police officer. talking back to a white police officer. So you talk back to a cop, you're defined as being mentally ill. Now, here's what I want you to think about for a second, though. This is the part that's interesting to me. Fast forward to 2015. And let's sort of put some of this into context now. Now we don't have to step off the sidewalk when white people pass. I don't think we know that that's kind of gone. That's an old um, sort of idea that doesn't exist anymore. Um, but I think that there is an understanding or a belief that African Americans are supposed to give deference to whites. That basically whites know better. White lives matter a little more than black lives. That white people just that they kind of deserve a little preference, right? We pray for France, but we don't care about Kenya or Mali or anything like that, right? We're thinking about what a couple of white girls that get killed, but nobody talks about all the black kids being killed in Chicago. So effectively, this deference for whites still exists, especially when you go further south. I was talking to a colleague who is a high-ranking official, a pretty powerful dude, and he was telling me about how he had to explain to his white staff members that he was the boss. They didn't quite understand that. They thought that they could talk to him in the old kind of way and give him this advice on how to do his job and stuff like that. Even though he's got a PhD and his secretary has a GED. Not to say that having a GED makes you a bad person, but he said that she talked to him like he was the dummy, like there was something wrong with him. And so I think that now eventually he got them straight, but he had to get them straight by constantly telling them, no, I told you to do this. You do what I tell you to do, and because they wouldn't do what he told them to do, because there is an understanding that black people should give deference to whites. Let's move to the next thing. Arguing with a white boss. To this day, that'll get you fired. That'll have people thinking that something's wrong with you, that you're mentally ill, right? You stand up to your boss, you speak up, you tell them about the racism on the job, and you get too vocal about it or you get too angry about it, then you will be defined as the angry black man or the angry black woman, and people will talk about you like you're crazy. They won't put you in an insane asylum, but they do want to, and believe me, they you speak back to the wrong white person, then they might try to put you in prison or something. Mainly, I'm talking about police officers. That's the third point. If you speak back to a cop, that can get you killed. To this day, in 2015. Now, this all started in 1868, but in 2015, you talk back to a cop, that can lead you to get criminal charges. Sandra Bland was talking back to that cop, which led to him treating her in a certain way, which led to him putting her in jail, which led to her being dead. Right? So ultimately, speaking back to a cop is still something that would lead you to be defined to be insane. And really, it comes down to the idea of challenging white authority figures. As a little black boy, I remember dealing with white teachers and white teachers from the suburbs, these white women who didn't understand me. And this thing between white women and black boys is just it's incessant. It's existed throughout all history. If you have a black son in the school system and he's dealing with a white teacher who doesn't understand young black males, you got to be very careful, because you have your son in a toxic environment. You have him in an environment where he's going to bump heads with that authority figure, and it's not going to end very well for him. The minute he speaks up, bucks up, talks too loud or whatever, he will be suspended, expelled, kicked out of school, whatever it is. And so you got to be really careful. I'm a believer that that black boys in school tend to respond well to black authority figures. That black female teacher who understands black boys is going to get respect from black boys that a white woman 9 times out of 10 is not going to get. Not to say white women can't get that respect. I actually do remember a white woman who helped me with my homework when I was little. Her name was Miss Kim, and I still love that lady. I mean, because she made me feel loved and supported. So there are white female teachers who have the capacity, and white males as well, who have the capacity to be very loving, very supportive. Just like there are black people who have the capacity to just be assholes, right? We've seen that too, right? But 9 times out of 10, in terms of statistical averages, the white female teacher does not get along with the black male. It ends up getting real messy. I think that black male authority figures are also very good for boys, because I think you need men that are going to teach your boy how to be a man. I think we got too many little little sissy boys out here in the world. I'm talking about sissy not in terms of being gay. I don't care about that. I'm talking about just not understanding the foundations of manhood, not understanding the responsibilities of manhood, the need for mental toughness as a man, the need for determination as a man, the need for goal setting as a man, the need for ambition as a man. You got too many men out here where somebody's making excuses for them. Talking about this, it might start with their mama. It might start with whatever, these liberals, these liberals that mean well. These white liberals that mean well, that really want to help black people. Unfortunately, sometimes instill you with a mindset that is built on a very welfare-like mentality. That's built on excuses. White liberals make a lot of excuses for everything. They don't believe much in personal accountability. That means that if you decide to go out here and become an alcoholic, then it's not your fault because you've got a disease. No, you did decide to pick up that bottle and start drinking when somebody told you to be careful about that stuff, right? It doesn't mean that the disease can't take over you. And once you're in, you're in. It's tough to get out, but it was your decision to get in. So this idea that somehow personal accountability is the devil is not going to make you strong as a black person, because as a community, personal accountability is critical for our ability to rise as a people. If we're not accountable for our condition and our ability to get ourselves in the condition that we want to be in, out of the condition that we're in, if we don't take accountability for that, we will never go anywhere. So you can sit and you can go pray to Jesus. You can vote for the right politician. You can sit and hope that it gets better. You can scream and protest and all this other stuff if you want. Hold as many candlelight vigils as you want. But if you don't understand the importance of self determination and direct proactive empowerment, then you're never gonna see the progress that you want to see. You're not gonna see it in your own life. You're not gonna see it in your own family. You're not gonna see it in your community. So we know racism's real. We know racism should be fought against, and we certainly know that we should keep an eye on what the white man is doing to black people, because it's absolutely atrocious. But also, I think we have to also understand that we have been infected by the mental illness on which this country was built. That we are mentally ill, just like the crazy white folks who treat us bad. We have a mental illness as well, and you have to work through that. You have to unbrainwash, deprogram yourself. The last thing I'll throw in here, there was one more point I wanted to get to that I thought was very important, and I can't remember what the point was. Um, uh, you know what? I lost my point, so it doesn't matter. I've talked long enough anyway. But so the last thing I want to say. Oh, here's the last point. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this. This is the most important point here, and this is something that I think should give us all a moment of pause. When I started thinking about this misdiagnosis of white doctors of black people, black children, destroying black potential, destroying our lives, ruining us, turning us into something that we're not meant to be, which was by design, it didn't happen by accident. I started thinking about the tens of thousands of black boys in the public school system who are being diagnosed as having mental illnesses of various forms. ADHD is number one. They get you medicated, which is going to alter your mind, which is going to make you more docile and allow you to become the person that is more consistent with whatever the power structure wants you to be. Right? They don't want radical black men saying Black Lives Matter and out here fighting in the streets and standing up for themselves and being strong and empowered. They want you really kind of just getting along to get along, right? They want you quiet, they want you calm, they want you to shut the hell up, right? So, um, when I look at and I see just how horribly bad white people have been at diagnosing mental illness for black people all throughout history, I'm sitting there thinking, what makes you trust that doctor now to tell you that your son has a mental illness today? I mean, what makes you trust those people that want to give your child a crazy check? That's what they call them. They call them crazy checks. The checks you get for having some sort of mental illness or learning disability or whatever. What makes you trust those same people to give your child a check for life that effectively, in many cases, can end up disabling him and killing off every ounce of his potential? I mean, what makes you trust these same people? I mean, we just talked about how these things that were defined as mental illnesses, talking back to a police officer, talking back to a white boss, how those things will still get you in trouble to this day, which means society has not changed that much since the time this insane asylum was created. So why do we somehow disconnect the two? Like, why would we even trust these school systems to diagnose our children? I'm not saying that some of these diagnoses aren't real. I'm not saying that ADHD can't be real. I will say that I believe that in most cases there are ways around it that don't involve medication. I do. I will say that. I will say that that when your child goes to school and your child isn't learning, your child isn't responding to the teacher, there's a greater likelihood that the environment is playing as much of a role, or if not a greater role, than anything that's going on inside of that child. I can say that I've seen children go into one environment and display the characteristics of someone with ADHD or mental illness or whatever it is you want to call it, but get into a totally different environment and behave like a totally different person. I can say that I've seen examples of black boys who behave differently with that white teacher from the suburbs than they did with the black teacher who lived in their neighborhood and taught at their Sunday school or whatever, or the black man that they know as an authority figure. Or the black boy who can't take orders from the teachers at school, but will take every single order to a T from a football coach, right? How many black boys do you know like that? How many black boys do you know they go to school and they get diagnosed and get put on medication, get told they can never learn how to read, get told they're not smart enough, not good enough, that they're just off balance mentally, but yet they go into a sports team and they're on the football team and they are incredibly focused. They can memorize a playbook this thick, every line, every play, every offensive scheme, stuff I can't even understand. They take orders with precision from their coach. Where's the disconnect there? Where's the disconnect? I mean, where's the flaw in all of this? I mean, is it they become different people? I mean, what's the issue here? I mean, if you look at this and you see that our children perform differently in different environments, then the only factor that you have to really consider and look at is the environment. And so when you talk about the mental health of black people, which has always been in severe jeopardy. I mean, the easiest way for the miseducation of the Negro talked about this. I ain't telling you nothing new, but if you look at the way our society, the way we're trained to hand the brains of our children over to our oppressors at an early age, you see what damage it does. Because what it does is it causes what you might call abortions of potential of black children. You're aborting the potential of that child before the child ever gets a chance to become anything. You're convincing him that he's meant to be only a fraction of what he could have been, which will cause him to fit into the role that this society has given him, right? If I raise my child to believe that he's meant to be a plumber, there's a very good chance he's going to be a plumber. If all I talk about are the glories of being a plumber and that you're built to be a plumber, you got the hands of a plumber, then he's going to be a plumber. There's a good chance he's going to be a plumber, right? If not, then he's going to have to escape the conditioning I gave him, which a few people can do, most people can't. So I think that when it comes to education, I'm really, really skeptical of this idea of us sending our kids to these schools. I know that the alternatives can vary. I know that you have some people that are able to get their kids into better schools, which can work and maybe not. It depends. I know there are ways to, they got the whole charter school debate versus public schools. I don't get into that because I don't like people that will defend teachers unions over the rights of parents and children to do what's best for their kids. I can't get into that. The teachers unions, I think teachers are valuable. I would have no problem with every teacher in America earning $100,000 to $200,000 a year. I really wouldn't care. I think every veteran and every teacher in America should get, let's say, 150K. I would have no problem with a law like that. No problem whatsoever. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your child. And the thing is, I think the decision should be apolitical. That means that, don't worry about Democrat versus Republican, liberal, conservative, all that other stuff. The unions versus, the politicians or the privatization of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. Get your child a good education. That's the bottom line. And the last point I'll make on that is that you can get your child a really good education through the internet. There are tons of resources right there on the web that you can use. You don't always have to go to these institutions and overpay to get access to information and an education. In fact, if I had a baby right now and I was trying to educate that child, I'd probably send them to school because you're supposed to, right? You have to by law, and I wouldn't want to do all that babysitting. I ain't gonna lie. But at the end of the day, what I'd probably do is I would have my child get a private tutor. I would hire a tutor for whatever it costs. It would probably cost a fraction of what it would cost to send them to, an expensive private school. And I would have that tutor work with my child all the time, and make sure that my child was ahead of the curve. The public school system is crap. It's horrible. Average sucks. Average in America is far below average compared to the rest of the world. So I would push my child to be to be whatever they're supposed to be. So that means if they can learn how to do math and read it, if they can at the age of 7 read at a high school level, then push them to read at a high school level. If they can do math at a high school level, let them do math at a high school level. There's nothing to say our kids can't do that. So that's all I really want to say. I'm going to stop talking. These things are on my mind, so I thought I'd share them with you. So don't just make sure you understand how history links to the present. Don't make that disconnect. Don't let people convince you that the past is gone and that it doesn't matter. The past is everything. The past is what creates the present. The reason I'm standing here talking to you right now is because at some point in the past, I turned on my computer and hit the record button. That's why I'm talking to you right now. So the past always matters when it comes to the present. The present cannot exist without the past. That's like saying a child can exist without the mother, and we know that that's not true. So that's all I want to say. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. By the way, if you want to take a class from me, you can go to theblackbusinessschool.com, theblackbusinessschool.com. We have lots of good classes, and they don't cost very much, and I think you'll love them all. So take care. I love you too. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.